Greetings, guys. Just a very quick analysis of Bitcoin. So you guys can see that I've got the monthly chart open, and we in this region have an information with the neckline being there. We saw that the neckline was broken in this region, and the anticipation next is for price to come back to the neckline to retest it and possibly push further down, and maybe to around this area here where we have that small bearish candle with a small wick and a long, sorry, with a small body and a long double wick around that, somewhere around that level, because there's quite a lot of liquidity sitting at that point. Or if the market doesn't get to that point, um, I would love to see at least a retest of this W formation, or rather a retest of the neckline of this W structure over here. So we might be looking for possible um, buying opportunities at this point, and that is because when we have W formations, would love to see price break the neckline, then come back to retest it and possibly push further up. Nonetheless, like I said, guys, that we have this candlestick over here, which is a liquidity candlestick, and the market may indeed come to that point as opposed to bouncing off the neckline of this W structure. So what I'm going to do right now is actually add some necklines to those two structures so that we don't forget about them. Here's a neckline for this M structure. There we go. And I'm also going to add a neckline for that W structure as well. Just bear with me. There we go. And one other thing is that I'm going to add a line to the bottom of that candlestick that I spoke about, which is a liquidity candlestick, so that we don't forget about all these important areas. So there we go. Is there anything else of value on this particular monthly chart of Bitcoin? I don't see anything further. So what I'm going to do now is head over to the weekly chart. Okay, so here we are on the weekly chart. What do we see on the weekly chart? Let's see. Excuse me. I see that we actually, just bear with me. We had a gap in this region which needed to be filled, and we saw that price came down to fill that gap. We also have another gap in this region, which means that in the future price has to come back to that gap to grab that liquidity. And like I said on the monthly chart, we have a huge M structure there. Let me just actually draw it. We have this huge M structure, and I said that once the neckline has been broken, ideally would love to see price go back to the neckline to retest it. This may happen. In fact, it is going to happen, but I would love it to happen as soon as possible, and then push further down as opposed to later on. So because of this gap here, we might find price actually coming back to this level and then pushing further down. Let's continue. What else do we see on this chart that is interesting or significant? So as much as we have on the monthly chart this huge M structure, we also have this structure over here, which is a head and shoulders pattern, and the two structures more or less share, the same neckline. Let's continue. Another interesting thing is that we have this candlestick over here, which is a bullish candlestick with a small body and a long upper wick. That too tells us that price at some point has to get to that level to grab that liquidity. We also have an M formation in this region with a neckline there. We might see in the future price coming to that neckline to retest it. However, it is not important at this stage, as price has closed below, or rather, well, price actually isn't closed, but if the weekly candle, this particular candle, actually closes below this level, I would not worry too much about this M structure for now. Let's continue. So what else do we see on this chart that is interesting? I don't see anything further. I'm going to head down to the daily chart. So here we are on the daily chart. The first thing that I'm going to do on this particular chart Apologies guys for the background noise. I'm at an area where I don't normally record at. Just bear with me guys. Um, just to continue. So the first thing that I'm going to do on this particular daily chart is add my daily channel. Just bear with me. Let's see. There goes my channel. We just need to ensure that it is as accurate as possible. Okay, there goes our channel. There we go. Right. So what else do we see on this particular daily chart of Bitcoin? So on this chart, we can see that the market was creating a whole lot of informations. There's one there with a neckline there. Price broke the neckline, then almost went back to the neckline to retest it. However, it never really got to the neckline as it turned here. Excuse me. We also have an overextended information here with a neckline there. However, we're yet to see price come back to this neckline to retest it. And then in this region here, we saw price moving sideways, but also forming a small M structure here with a neckline there. So it may happen that price may come back to this level, which is actually the neckline of that huge M structure that I spoke about on the bigger charts. And from here, we might look for further selling opportunities, and not just because of this neckline, but also because of this information, which also has a neckline in the same area, as well as the fact that we have a gap in that region, right? So what I'm going to do now actually is just use my Fibonacci retracement tool just to see if the neckline of this small m aligns with any of the key numbers that we have on the Fibonacci retracement tool. So just bear with me guys. There goes our fib. Let's see. Just bear with me guys. There we go. So the neckline doesn't quite align with the 61.8% zone or the 50% zone. I'm focused on these two zones because in my humble opinion they are the most important. Nonetheless, let's keep moving forward. I'm just gonna add a small neckline to that structure as well so that we don't forget about it. Just bear with me. There we go. That's the neckline of the smaller M structure. So from here I'm just gonna head down to the H4 chart. So here we are on the H4 chart. So what do we see on the H4 chart? So we can see on the H4 chart that, in fact, before I actually continue, I think I'm just gonna add my channel. Just bear with me. Let's see, how would I add a channel on this particular H4 chart? Let's see. Just bear with me, guys. This is probably the best way to do it at this point in time. Okay. So there goes my H4 channel. There we go. Let me just make it bigger. Alright. So what else do we see?